Macrae. I'm an archaeologist and from Texas. Studied at Texas A&M. Studied Pecos River style rock art. We're seeing today down in this area. It's 2,000 to 4,000 year old rock art. But my work was studying based around recurrent patterns in the art. Patterns you see over and over again, and it was kind of borrowing from some of the methodologies, structural analysis that they used to interpret the Mayan hieroglyphics. But this is a pretty good example. So everything up here that you're seeing is those Pecos River style paintings, oldest form of rock art in the canyon. And but my basis of my research were what I call core motifs, which are these recurrent, basically patterns that you see over and over and over again in these painting episodes. So you can see it really well here, like, here's a painting, here's a painting, the one you point out here is a painting, here's a painting. There are all these different paintings that they did, and so that's sort of the structure of the site. Here's a painting, and they fall within 18 recurrent themes over and over again, but each individual painting was unique. So they never just replicated an older one, but they were very much stuck within the rules of the style. And this is what's called a hole in the universe here. It's an arch with a circle. This is what's known as a central figure. So that's everything centered around this. It's actually a human-like figure. I call the medicine man leader in my book. A lot of people call it a shaman. But the inspirations for these figures, so you've got other anthropomorphic figures here, here, here. But if you look around these canyon walls, my interpretation based on someone else's work is that they represent they're copying the water streaks. They're copying the landscape. I mentioned this in the last tour, but when you're walking out of here, look at the water streaks on the wall, both the ones that are just right now from the rain, the dark streaks, as well as the yellow streaks that are part of the rock at all times. So they were taking, and in their belief system, those were animate beings. They were the earth, and the rocks were alive, and so those were earth spirits and water spirits. So they were painting the people of that time, 4,000 years ago, in this sacred form of the landscape, and they were also making the art, incorporating it within the landscape. But same themes over and over again. Again, another hole in the universe here. You've got the arch with the circle, just like you have here. The arch kind of faded. You've got the circle here right at the apex and the central figure. The central figure's pretty faded, but there's one right here, most likely. So here is a mountain lion, quasi-mountain lion anthropomorph. So you've got the body here and the long tail with the bristling fringes on it, but also you've got arms and legs, but you've got claws and something coming out of the mouth. Here's the ears right here. So the common theme, the depiction of that mountain lion. Another probably hole in the universe here, because you've got the circle, and this representing the central figure here. But this case, it's in the form of an atlatl dart. You've got the fletching here, and the spear here, and it looks like it's coming down into a possibly like sort of stylized deer antlers. So you've got this small body of symbols, kind of like letters in a language, recombined over and over again in all these novel, interesting ways. So.
Do we know what their story, like what they're writing, or?
Well, yes and no. So in my book, I kind of get into that as much as I can. I mean, a lot of it's lost, but I looked at those. For every symbol, I've got a description, sort of a scientific description of what it looks like, how to recognize it and identify it, and then my interpretation of other people. But basically, I don't know, holistic sense, it's a combination of political and spiritual information. It's the social hierarchies of the day, but also the beliefs and religion of the day, all kind of combined. So some are a little more focused on the political, so to speak, side. Others are more focused on the spiritual side. But there's a number of different themes, but you've got, again, with this mountain lion figure here, you've got this juxtaposition between a human and a mountain lion, and then the recombination of the two into a quasi-human animal form. You've got anthropomorphs depicted with birds, sort of a magical flight, so to speak, and you've got anthropomorphs with wings. You've got this figure here, that hole in the universe, which is, interpreted as, no one knows exactly, but it's sort of a transformation, sort of a portal-like sort of passage from one realm, sort of maybe from the physical realm to the spiritual realm. And, and I think this may represent either the sky, or it actually may represent a rock shelter, too, because you sit in the back of one of these big rock shelters and you can look out, and that's what it is, a perfect arch. And some of them have. And I think there were holes in the rock in the caves. You'll have anthropomorphs going into holes in the rock, passage from one plane of existence to another. So it was their depiction of their religion and their society in their own way, in a weird, seeing it through their eyes and a weird lens, yeah.
The pictures that you see down here are painted by a man named Forrest Kirkland in the 30s, and he and his wife came down in the summertime, which must have been miserable, and painted, and so you can see how much the paintings have faded, but it's nice to look at this to see what's supposed to be up there, and then come back and go back and forth, because some of it is hard to see.
So is what you were saying that it's the meaning is within a context, or the meaning is, say, not as literal as it is looking at a pattern? Is that what you're saying? You're looking at a pattern and these symbols that were occurring amongst all these caves, that you compare it. It's as if looking at one symbol or one image and saying it means this, but that you can infer certain kinds of meaning.
Yeah, so Pecos River style sites, there's roughly 250 to 350 known sites of this style, all in this region. And every single one of those sites, you have these same patterns. And we've actually looked at it statistically, and there's no differentiation statistically between the Pecos River style art on the Devil's River, from what's on the Rio Grande, from what's up by Langtree, or down in Mexico. So people were traveling from place to place. They knew the art really well, and every time they made a new painting, they were incorporating stuff from all those different regions into it. So
This right here,
Oh,
it seems different because
the level.
it's nothing that's solid like the
Right.
rest of it. Is that a different style?
same style, but yeah, different. Again, every painting was its own thing, and in this one, they just used red paint, for example, and they had a pretty small brush, for example. But again, you can kind of tell the paint episodes and the core motifs based on that style. So like, this is part of it. All of this is part of it. But yeah, there's no other one. It's got a pretty unique blocky form. I'm not sure if this is part of it or not. That looks like a little bit more fine line quality. I'm not quite sure if that's related to it or not. But you've got these sort of stalk, kind of like soul tall-like or staff-like images coming out of either hand, with little dots coming up and little dots along the stalk here, and little dots here. It looks like little dots here. So within that painting, and possibly all these little dots here might be related. So within that core motif, within that individual painting episode, it's like an archaeological feature. It's like an earth oven. It represents a moment in time, and so yeah, everybody had their own unique take. Here you've got insinuous lines. That's another one of their themes, where you had a central anthropomorphic figure surrounded by these wavy lines. Very common theme. So that's a good example of that, perfectly surrounded by the circle of.
So this was, what did you say, 1920s?
For Kirkland, yeah?
30s, in the
30s.
30s,
Yeah.
I
Wow.
think around 35, 37.
Yeah. You can really, that's good.
Yeah.
So
He really left the legacy, didn't
in
he?
the